So complex number, we can define it as C, that is the set of C, which equals to A plus the set of A plus IB, such that A and B are member of the real numbers. You know what real numbers are, I've explained that earlier. And such that I squared equals to minus 1. This is the proper definition of a complex number. It is the set of A plus IB such that A, B are members of real numbers, and I square equals to minus 1. In some books, they write I equals to square root of minus 1 in place of that, but they are the same thing, as I've explained earlier. I itself is a complex number because we can write it as 0 plus 1i. Then the 0 is your A and 1 is your B. And I also need to mention this, that if you have A plus IB, A is called the real part in the complex number, while B is called the imaginary part, and I is called the imaginary unit. The common mistake that students make is writing IB as the imaginary part. IB is not the imaginary part. B is the imaginary part, while I is the imaginary unit and A is the real part. So you have to clarify that. Having just I here, I can be written as 0 plus I 1i. So let's take the second example. We have 5 minus 6i. 5 is the real part, minus 6 is the imaginary part, and I remains the imaginary unit. The third example, we have minus I. It can be written as 0 minus 1i. So this implies that 0 is the real part, minus 1 is the imaginary part, and I remains the imaginary unit. Let's move on to example 4. Cos 60 plus I sine 60. Sine 60 is the one with I, which is the imaginary unit, which we take as our imaginary part. The imaginary part is sine 60, and the real part is cos 60, and I remains the imaginary unit.